So we're live streaming. Hello. And today we'll be talking about gun control. So an exciting topic that the Greens will be discussing today is about gun control. Hello, everyone. My name is Austin Bayshore. I am the liaison officer for the Young Greens of Ohio. I have been a member of the Green Party since 2015, and I ran in the 2018 local elections as a Green Party candidate in Northeastern Ohio. I'm a member of the Ohio Green Party Central Committee as a representative from Portage County, Kent. And I'm joined today by two members of the Young Greens, Marco and McKenzie. Marco, can you introduce yourself, please?
My name's Marco. I've been a member of the Young Greens since 2021. I am the co-chair for the Young Greens of Ohio.
Thank you for joining us today. McKenzie, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah. Hi, my name is McKenzie. I'm also co-chair of the Young Greens. I've been with the Greens since 2020. And I'm excited to discuss gun control. So, yeah.
So as we said, today we will be discussing gun control here on the live stream of the Young Greens. Gun control is a tricky topic in the United States, so we just wanted to set some ground rules for the debate and some background information for those people who do not know or do not live in the United States. So Marco, what is gun control?
Gun control is a form of laws the government set to moderate weapons. So parts of weapons, on weapons are used, the size of its magazine, all that stuff, to prevent crime or mass shootings.
Good, thank you. McKenzie, what is gun control?
I agree with what Marco said. It's a set of laws or policies that regulate everything from manufacture to the sale to possession and modification or use of a firearm by civilians.
So gun control is a tricky topic here in the United States, and we are quite used to a lot of different types of violence in the United States, whether it comes from vehicles or knives, that type of stuff. So how does mass shootings differ from other types of gun violence in the United States? Marco?
Mass shootings usually is a great intent. It's planned, like from the recent shooting we had in what state it was. You can correct me on that, but he purposely went out to kill Black people with those guns he had. So I think there is an intent behind it. Without with some forms, there's no intent. Like people just defend themselves with their weapons. He had no intent of using that weapon. If you,
sorry, continue.
Yeah, you can continue.
McKenzie, how does mass shootings differ from other types of gun violence?
First, I'd like to start off with saying violence is violence. It affects many people. One difference is mass shootings typically affect a greater group of people because greater group of people tend to die instead of single acts of gun violence. But yeah, like Marco said, with mass shootings, there's typically an intent, there's a plan. Typically with other types of gun violence, it might not be as thought out. But yeah, that's one of the differences.
Self-defense, acts of self-defense are also considered gun violence for many jurisdictions in the United States. So when we talk about gun control, a lot of the things that Americans tend to equate with gun control is the act of completely banning and taking away any type of gun ownership in the United States. So does gun control, for those watching, does gun control mean fewer guns, McKenzie?
No, gun control simply means taking the laws we actually already have and enforcing them. A lot of the laws we have do not get enforced, like the red flag laws. They vary from state to state. People are able to order guns from different states when they're not even allowed to have a gun in their own state without background checks or online. So gun control means safer handling of guns, not fewer guns.
Great, thank you.
Yep, go ahead.
Marco, does gun control mean fewer guns?
No, it does not. Even if there was those laws, people could still find ways to illegally get guns through different countries and through crimes. So not necessarily will it completely disallow people to have guns or get handled guns. It's just a law saying you can't have that gun. People will be able to get them.
One of the biggest exporters to Mexico from the United States are guns, weapons.
Mhm.
So as Greens, we must uphold our party's stance on nonviolence. However, that puts one hand tied behind our back when it comes to gun control and guns. So when we discuss gun control and the act of using guns in green politics, what does that mean? How do we as Greens approach gun control? Marco?
Well, from a Green Party stance, I think they should take the route of gun control as their nonviolent stance. I think that's the way they should approach it if they want to stay by their values of nonviolence.
McKenzie, how do we approach as Greens the issue of gun control?
Yeah. They would like more gun control, but we do also stand for the right to self-defense, regardless of what weapon that might be with. But I do believe we are for better gun control laws and safer streets. Yep.
Good. Yes, as Greens, we do support the right for self-defense. However, we do believe that we must adhere to our party's stance of nonviolence. That doesn't mean we're completely against guns. It just means that the right to self-defense must be upheld.
Mhm.
Many other countries also do have the right to bear arms. Switzerland, for example, Canada, many countries have rights for citizens to own weapons. However, they have such a low crime rate in comparison to the United States. The United States is such an outlier when it comes to gun violence and gun deaths and crimes committed with firearms. Why is the United States such an outlier in these situations? Marco?
I think it's because America has a very large gun culture. People have multiple guns, basically arsenals, weapons in their lockers or in their basements. And on top of that, it's a lot of crimes are linked to things like poverty, mental health issues. So I think if we really want to target gun violence or all forms of violence and crime, we should target those issues too as well.
McKenzie, why is the United States such an outlier when it comes to gun violence?
Yeah. I can't speak to other countries, but I know the issue with the United States, we don't even enforce the laws we have. Like the fact that anyone can get a gun from a different state, even if they can't get it in their own state, is ridiculous. But why can't we have like the laws be the same throughout? And there's poverty, there is mental health issues. Capitalism really provokes crime. Like you got to do something to feed your family. You got to do something to make sure you have enough money to keep a house, to get your kids or yourself to the hospital. And if violence is the only way to do that, then you're going to choose violence. Like, yeah. So
we're also joined here by Aiden today. Aiden, why is the United States such an outlier when it comes to gun violence?
I believe that the United States has been an outlier because gun culture has been in the United States since the country's inception. As soon as they made that Second Amendment, I believe that there is no turning back for it.
Yeah, the United States is such a purveyor of violence around the world that history has never seen. Eventually, the chickens will return home to roost. Sorry, I'm getting a little distracted by Cat right now. Sorry. But if we are going to push for gun control in the United States, if that's something Greens are interested in and something that the Green Party supports, where do we begin with gun control? Do we how do we start? Where do we begin? Marco?
I think we should just start targeting like magazines. Like some states have magazines, and like there's a gun show loophole. I think we should target the gun show like laws around the gun shows, because people can go to gun shows and get parts that are illegal in their state, but people are selling them because you can't buy the gun with the part in them. I think they should, if you're going to do gun control, you have to make it illegal to have those parts overall. So people usually go to gun shows to get those parts specifically, so they can just put them in the gun after instead of getting it with the gun.
McKenzie, where would we begin if we were to advocate for gun control?
I agree with Marco. I also think we should stop the sale of guns online. They have proven to be too dangerous for something we should just be able to buy online. There should be able to be in person, talking to the person who is selling you, or the person, to see if they are even mentally stable, do background checks, be in your state if we're not going to improve the laws across the board. But I think if we start there, that at least will help a little bit. Obviously, I have tons of work to do, but that's sort of.
Good. Aiden, where do we begin with gun control?
I agree with Mackenzie's statement. Also, I believe if we gradually, slowly ban certain types of guns, that eventually the culture of gun violence will slowly eradicate itself from this country.
Yes. It's true. Sorry, again, cats. But also, we must adhere to the words of Karl Marx when he said, under no pretext should arms and ammunition be surrendered, and any attempt to disarm the worker must be frustrated by force necessary. So if we aren't going to disarm the police, if we're not going to disarm the military, there's no point in gun control. If we're not going to first take out or advocate against the biggest purveyors of violence around the world, which is the US police state. And any attempt to disarm the people without first disarming their oppressors will only backfire and create an even worse situation. When we discuss the issues of guns and gun violence, a lot of people just begin to talk about schools and the epidemic of gun violence in schools in the United States, the only country in the world to have this type of epidemic. So when we discuss those types of questions, the first question being asked is, should we arm teachers and put armed security guards in the schools? Is that something we should be looking into? Aiden?
Personally, I believe no, mostly because some people would just look at that as a way to easily get into a school with a weapon. Security guards could be easily influenced by outside sources and could easily just go ahead and cause another school shooting.
As we saw with the Parkland school, there were armed security guards in the school, but they didn't do anything. And the courts even ruled that it's not the armed security guards' job to protect the students, even though that's what they're paid by tax dollars to be there to do. McKenzie, should we arm teachers in school?
No, I personally know some teachers who should probably never have guns. Like, kid makes them wrong one, or makes them mad enough one day, I feel like they would go crazy. Also, that's just not a good learning environment. That's not gonna make kids want to go to school. That's not gonna make kids feel like they can learn in peace. That's gonna freak them out and give them even more anxiety than they already have about going to school. So no, I do not think we should do that.
School's hard enough. It's even harder when your 8th grade biology teacher has got a Glock strapped to their waist.
Exactly.
Marco, should we arm teachers in schools?
No, because teachers could have mental health reasons. They can't have a gun, background check issues, they can't have a gun, and just those kids just probably won't feel safe with their schools. teachers are supposed to be caring and just figures to the students so they can learn. So no.
One of the biggest issues we have in the United States surrounding gun control is the fact Republicans and conservatives dominate the narrative that Americans don't even want gun control, that it's some far left crazy conspiracy theory to de-arm the United States for the radical communist takeover of the country. Do Americans even want gun control in the first place when having this discussion, McKenzie?
The way the Republicans push it, I do not believe they do, as in they don't want to give up their guns. They hear gun control, they automatically think we're taking all their guns. Now, when you explain it to them further, as I have to a couple conservative people, it's more about regulating it and making it more safe for them, their family, their children, etc. And they tend to be more agreeable and okay with that instead of just how they think gun control is because of how the Republicans have pushed it as we're taking away their guns. So yes, I believe they want the actual gun control definition.
Yeah, I agree. When I explained the gun control situation to conservatives, many people do not realize that if you are convicted of domestic violence in the state of Ohio, you can still legally purchase a firearm.
Yep.
And a form of gun control would be closing that loophole to people convicted of violent crimes, such as domestic violence, battering their loved ones, not being able to purchase the weapons that can cause more harm.
Yep.
Marco, do Americans even want gun control in the first place?
I don't know the exact stats, but people I've talked to, it's just a mixed feelings or regulation. Some people want bans of weapons, people just don't want it overall, but I don't know the exact stats of Americans want it.
Aiden, do Americans even want gun control in the first place?
From personal experience, I have seen both Democrats and Republican voters talk to me about gun control, and Republicans do want a certain form of gun control to make sure that criminals don't get their hands on guns, and also so that deadly weapons that can cause and help with mass shootings are regulated. The Democrat voters I know mostly want to ban most guns except for handguns.
So, yeah, the majority of Americans do want action to end gun violence in the United States, but the Democrats and Republicans haven't been doing much to prevent that. But I want to thank our guests today, Marco, Co-Chair McKenzie, and Secretary Aiden, for joining us here on the Young Greens live stream about gun control. Our next live stream will be June 19th, Sunday at 10:30 in the morning. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time.
Bye.